footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. That's Emery Huntazar, the playbook, and I'm Tyler Mirkovich, bringing you Indianapolis Colts team offseason outlook. And one of their key free agents on offense is offensive tackle Charlie Johnson, but they drafted Tony Hugo, who doesn't start, so they might want him to come in. Gary Brackett on defense, Marlon Jackson, who was injured last year, Tim Jennings, another cornerback, and Antoine Bethea, a safety who you know they really want to bring back. So we talked about it during the Super Bowl, the deficiencies in the secondary. They got a lot of young guys there who they probably might want to stick out. So what do you think their number one need is?
I think the number one need is probably those tackles. I think they need to address the offensive line and get some more tackles in that position. I think interior offensive line is fine. But I think on the bookends, they need a little bit more depth, a little bit more help. The Colts in a good situation. They can just build up across the board. But I think number one need is probably offensive line of tackles. Now look at defensively, they really need to bring in another D tackle, some more D tackles as well too, or a defensive end. You know, but I think defensive line they have to address as well too. So both lines they have to look to build depth. And don't even mention that. I think Colts fans probably don't even want to see Tim Jennings back there again. So they need some cornerbacks as well too in that secondary. It's probably another linebacker as well, outside backer.
Absolutely, and I mean Bob Sanders was injured, so he's coming back. So I mean, not a lot of areas for the Colts to need, but you might be right with those offensive tackles because their interior is pretty good. Jeff Saturday, their center, and their guards are pretty darn good. So for the Colts.
Right, and you look at the Colts as a team.
Maybe a backup quarterback. I know you're going to want that.
Right, Painter and Sorgi.
But Manning never gets injured. He just knows how to fall. He's the Iron Man. So, I mean, that's not going to be really too good. But if you want to sit out these games and rest them, maybe you want a little better guy than Curtis Painter.
Right, and maybe Jim Sorgi comes back and plays healthy, like that. But I do think running back they're fine, wide receiver they're fine. O-line, I just think the tackles need help. I also think defensive ends, they need some depth there. Defensive tackles more likely. Secondary, cornerbacks, safety. You really can't count Bob Sanders. He's
always injured.
Right. He's on 4 weeks, off 4 weeks, and then off the rest of the season. So they really need another safety and corners as well. You have to stack up on corners, especially if you look at somebody maybe like a Javier Arenas, a guy that could, play a cover two scheme and also can help you out in returning because they need some pop in that return game as well too.
Exactly. So for the Indianapolis Colts, maybe a couple positions here and there, but they're going to be on top every year, led by Peyton Manning.
Yeah, this is a draft for them depth wise. So again, with the deep draft 2010 class, they're going to have a lot of opportunities to build that depth.
I mean, they absolutely hit on those two rookie wide receivers after the Harrison departure in Austin Collie and Pierre Garcon, who's an absolute animal. And plus, Anthony Gonzalez is going to come back. Of course, you got Clark and Wayne, who are always constants. Dye was running pretty hard. He was running for his life because he knows there's a guy who's up and coming in Donald Brown. They addressed that last year, but their running game was dead last during the regular season. So maybe they want to shore up those tackles and have a more physical run game.
And when the Colts were a dynamite running team, they had 2 tight ends. They need another tight end. I think they really need to get someone alongside Clark. That's going to make that offense that much more dangerous. Think about when they had Pollard and company, those 2 tight ends, right?
That
Pollard,
could be a sleeper.
That could be a sleeper
position right there.
If they get another tight end, that offense is going to take off even more.
Yeah,
they're going to be able to run the ball.
They had Tim Santee as the other tight end, I believe.
Right, they need a new guy.
They could use some little versatility in the tight end game because these double tight end formations can come in handy when you have a lot of looks.
Right.
For more, visit youtube.com/footballgameplan, or if you want to read some columns, visit footballgameplan.com.